Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody said that you let me down. Hesitation bringing you around. Makes no difference what you used to do.
I've been taking a really critical retrospective of my life recently, and I realized I haven't really done a lot of the things my younger self wanted. That's probably a common feeling between most people in their late 20s, but still. There's things like landing my dream job, moving to a big city with a bunch of creative opportunities, starting a successful business. While I don't really regret the way my life is going, and I'm really proud of the things I've accomplished, there's still that feeling of not really accomplishing anything I feel really impressive, which may be my biggest problem, because if I achieve something, that means I've had that goal set, which means I pictured myself accomplishing it, and then when I do it, it feels more like ticking something off a to-do list rather than achieving a goal. That's not to say I haven't failed at any of the goals I've set. I had one where I wanted to make 100K as a side hustle when I was 23, which I didn't do. I planned on starting a clothing brand when I was 21. I didn't do that. And getting into my top university when I was 17. Also didn't do. I even got cut from my high school basketball team at 14. So, needless to say, I failed a lot, and as you can see, I hold on to those failures pretty tight. People always say failure comes with a lesson, and I definitely think I've gained plenty of skills from those ventures. But something I also feel like I learned was to set more realistic goals. But what those realistic goals really felt like was moving the goalpost to justify what my circumstances were. So I want to take this weekend, not necessarily to set new goals, but to remember certain goals and why they are important to me. So for me, one of those big goals was actually getting into big tech. When I was growing up, that was FANG, so Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. With the whole AI shift now, there's a whole bunch of changes. So for me, excellence in my field and my craft is very similar to academic success. But I was never a big academia person. Like I said, I didn't get into my number one choice of university. I didn't have the best grades. I just never really cared for the school system as a whole. But my actual craft, which is software development, software engineering, that is something that I am passionate about. And I want a way to kind of put the check mark on, or have some sort of gold standard for success in my craft. And in my opinion right now, it's kind of getting into one of those big companies. For me, the big two I want to get into are either Google or Apple. And both of those goals felt achievable for a sense. I actually interviewed and got to the final round of a Google interview. And then when I got rejected, that was really tough, because it really reflected on me achieving one of like a huge goal I had for a long time, but failing. And that was tough. And in terms of Apple, I've been working at the Apple store for like 4 years, thinking that it'd give me an edge in applications for software engineering roles, but it hasn't. Every job I applied for, I got insta rejected. So that's been pretty tough. I think after a while of trying to break into big tech, I just kind of slowly been, set off by it. At this point, I guess I've always had that goal, but like me chasing that goal has been very passive. I've just been like, I'm coding, I have a job now, and I do lead code questions every now and then. So like I'm working towards that goal, but I'm not really, I think I've grown complacent on not achieving that goal. But I think I want to change it, because like I said, being a master of my craft is important to me. And I think one thing that really reflects that is being able, or having the ability to get one of those big tech jobs. And yeah, I think some people do it really easily, and for me, unfortunately, it hasn't been that easy. Like, I feel like I put in the work, but it's difficult. That's why it's a goal I want to set. Not a lot of people do it, and a lot of people that tried failed, me being one of them. So I think that is something I really want to achieve. But I mean, I'm not exactly sure how to go about that. I realized very quickly that having results based goals are difficult. So, getting a job is not really something in your control. There's a lot of other factors. What's in your control is the amount of effort you put towards it. But again, you got to be strategic because sometimes the effort isn't worth it. Like sending in application after application after application might not necessarily be worth it if you're not doing other, if there's no other factors helping you achieve those goals. But job hunt aside, I think that's goal and that deserves its own video. That is just something that has always been one of my bigger goals. I think academic, that is my version of an academic based goal, like getting a degree or getting a master's or publishing a paper or something like that. That's kind of my version of that. And yeah, like sure, the pay is what great, work life balance probably is nice, but for me, it's all about the prestige and the knowledge like you get when you get into big tech. So another one of my goals is actually a financial goal, and it's to be able to maintain my lifestyle through secondary and passive income. I mentioned before I want my career to simply be about mastering my craft and gaining knowledge. I don't want it to be influenced by how much money I make. So that's why I have this goal. On top of that, I don't want my time and decisions to be based or be restricted by money. I want to have the freedom to spend the time I want to, how I want to spend it, and do the things I want to do. I understand to make this goal possible, it's not simply about finding the side hustles that make money easily and fast, but also about being smart about how I spend my money and using my money in a way that actually spending my money in a way that works for me. So yeah, I think those are very important goals to me. I think the reason for that is I spent a lot of time in my early 20s working multiple jobs. I think from what, 20, when I was 21 till I was 24, 3 years straight working two jobs. Like two of those years, I didn't have a single day off. And like that would be 12-hour days. Again, 12-hour days, no days off, all that type of stuff. And yeah, I was able to make a decent amount of money. I was actually able to afford my first condo when I was 23. But I think it actually put a big or made a really big impact on my early 20s when I should have been focused more on other things. And those are things I kind of want to rectify now. Not to say that all that time working those two jobs didn't teach me a lot. I definitely learned, I've gained a lot of skills working these jobs, but more on top of that, I found communities and built a network of individuals that I truly feel will help me achieve my goal. I guess the financial freedom, that's the big thing here. It's being financially free, but on top of that, it's again, that drive to make money is not really fulfilled in a career. I think that ambition or that like hunger you get from making money not through your typical 9 to 5, like through sales or through a business or through flipping. It's just like it's a type of hunger and like gratitude that you don't necessarily get from a paycheck you get from a job. So yeah, I think that's one of the big things is one of my goal was to make money through a secondary income, and I was very content with that just being a part-time job. Whereas now I think I want it to be more fulfilling. I want to get that hunger from making a flip, starting a business that is profitable. And I think that's what makes this goal very enticing to me. Again, the primary thing is earning that financial freedom, but on top of that, it's to fulfill that hunger of making or hustling, like working for a dollar, not just working for a wage. But that's just the way I see things, and that's just one of the things that I think that's just something that makes me who I am. And I don't want to let that go. Again, I really do feel like for a large majority of my a large majority of my life, I was just chasing money through a wage rather than, fulfilling my need for a hustle, which this financial goal is actually one that I've had for a long time. When I was in my senior year of high school, we actually had this financial literacy course, and went through the importance of investing when you're young, having some emergency funds, all this type of stuff. Basically, how to make sure finances don't impede on your life. And ever since then, I realized I don't want money to be a factor in the decisions I make, and I don't want my time to be controlled by how much money I have. So ever since then, one of my biggest goals was to be able to make passive secondary income enough to live off of. I have these two things that I'm hoping will help me achieve this goal. One, which is the business I'm running with Gab, so the mall riders, and two is the financial literacy courses I'm doing with Anthony, which will help me be more financially secure. That's what I'm kind of trying to get organized right now, is getting a list of potential locations to open up more businesses, and two, getting a list of people to do the financial course with me. Because again, both those things are quite important to me. And I think those are two things that will really play a big factor into me achieving that goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody said that you let me down. Hesitation bringing you around. Makes no difference what you used to do. I could never be ashamed of you. I could never. Maybe you were reckless yesterday.
Last night, my allergy got so bad at Lena's that we ended up coming back here. But it kind of works out because we're continuing the process of making the grills, which right now is getting the mold set. So we got all the stuff this morning. Shout out Amazon Prime. They were able to get everything we needed. We got the trays, the molding putty, the plaster, and all that type of stuff. So we're gonna, the steps kind of make it is mix the putty together, put it in the tray and get our impressions, and then mix the plaster and put the plaster into the impressions to get our molds. So that's kind of the plan for now, and once we have our molds, we'll be able to start making our designs. Yeah. Growing up, I've always wanted to have some sort of creative expression. I grew up watching a bunch of content creators like most kids. So whether it's fashion content, tech content, lifestyle, sports, whatever it is. So I've always had that itch to express myself creatively. Growing up in a smaller town, I always felt like I was limited or restricted with the opportunity I'd have to express myself and follow my creative passion. So that led me to wanting to move to the bigger cities like New York, Los Angeles, Houston, where there is a bigger, more infrastructure for these creative outlets. I think it also aligned with my goals for my career because those cities also have the biggest opportunity to get into big tech. So again, one of my biggest goals was to move into, or to get a job in one of these big cities so I can go there and start pursuing my creative goals. I think kind of having two goals that needed me to move to a different city kind of hindered me in a sense, where if both goals don't need me to go there, I wasn't really planning on going there. And then in my pursuit of gaining skills to follow some creative passions, I realized that it didn't really matter where I was, as long as I found a community of creative people and like-minded individuals, I would have a space to express my creative outlet or express myself creatively, which is something that happened while I was working at a streetwear retailer, or I found a group of people, and I was, again, not actively but very passively pursuing creative goals. Not necessarily goals, but
Expression?
pursuing creative activities, which again let me kind of tick a box of achieving creativity, but not really something that made me fulfilled in my creative expression. We tried this.
Third time's a charm.
Each time we've done it, the teeth have broke off the front, so I'm really hoping this time is a little bit better. So let's start. How to kind of get this off? Honestly, the way the edges are kind of crumbling off, it's not a good feeling.
No, ooh.
Got some good separation there. Oh, same thing.
Same thing.
The teeth keep breaking
I don't know
off.
why it does that. Oh, I just heard a crack.
Oh, that's teeth separation there. Ooh.
Oh no! I think what it is, babe, is when you pull it like this, we have to pull it out like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like,
Exactly. Cause right now, like I was doing this, right, and that's why these teeth are broken.
let's see. Okay, unfortunately, all we ended up with today was a bunch of broken molds. The impressions actually went pretty smooth, but for some reason, every mold we did ended up breaking at the teeth, which was super annoying. It's probably because of the type of plaster we use, because we tried having it set for longer. We tried letting the paste or different ratios for the powder to the water. But no matter what we did, we've always ended up with broken teeth. You know what it might be? The water bubble. If there's big water bubbles. No, but they look like actual cracks. Like the actual mouthpiece got cracked.
I think it was the way we were pulling it out of the mold.
Yeah, this is actually pretty good. You have a lot of yours. Like right here, you could probably actually use yours.
I know, but I know that's not really what my teeth look like. Like, there's no gums.
What do you mean?
Here?
Your gums are at the top there.
I know, but it could be clearer, in my opinion. The ones we see online are super clear, and they even carve it out sometimes.
They carve it out for like other reasons.
But it's so that when they do the wax on top, it's like really, isn't it so that it's really like
Fitted?
Really fitted.
I'm not sure, but I'm gonna do a little more research on how we can make this better, and probably not next week because I'm going back home, but the week after we can try doing something again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for work on the project this weekend.
It was a good try.
Good first attempt. Okay, after that extremely brutal failure in terms of making the molds, we ate some food and are actually getting ready to go to bed. And before that, one thing I gotta do is make sure I set my fantasy lineups for next week or for the next day. And fantasy is going all right. In the one league, I'm down 3-6, but in the other league, I'm up 7-1. So winning one, losing another. And actually, one thing that got me thinking about my goals is sports, and particularly basketball, is what got me into fashion, which kind of got me into being creative. I think growing up, I loved watching basketball, and then that got me into basketball sneakers, which got me into just sneakers in general. And being a sneakerhead is what got me into fashion, and being into fashion is kind of what got me to want to express myself creatively. So I guess like sports and I guess sports is kind of like a key component in who I am. And I think I've had a few different goals in terms of my passion for sports, but I was never a super athletic person. So I was never like best basketball player, best football player, whatever. Like I was okay at sports, but I was never the best at them. So I never grew up having having really huge goals in terms of sports and athletics. But one thing I did do was watch a lot of content creators surrounding the sports I enjoy, like Chris Move, Kick Genius, Dave Friga, Funky Diabetics. So it's not only just about like, I enjoyed watching content creators that one played basketball but also talked about basketball and sports. I always wanted to kind of do something similar, just a way to express my interest in sports in my own way. I think I really want to figure that out. I think I watched a whole lot of sports growing up, and then for a little while, because for whatever reason I kind of fell out of sports and fell out of watching basketball. I guess I watched a lot of basketball growing up, and then when Kobe retired I kind of fell off the NBA, and then I got really into football and NFL. And when I got into university, I got a little caught up with like school and all this other stuff that I wasn't really keeping up with, either the NBA or the NFL, for a little while. Like I'd watch it passively, but definitely not as much as I was growing up. And then, especially as of recently, I've really gotten the chance to really indulge in that pleasure of mine, I guess. So I've been watching as many NFL games, or I watched every NFL game I could, and now like pretty much anytime I get a chance to, I'll be watching an NBA game. And yeah, I'm really trying to figure out how to incorporate my love for sports in one of my bigger goals. But that's pretty much it. I think I've really got a chance to go through my thoughts and like, I guess, understand what goals I want to set. And hopefully next week I can start. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the weekend. But just kick up, watch some Ted Lasso, and just get some sleep, and pretty much end off this weekend. Peace. I definitely